Hey my friends, it took me a while before I really wanted to touch the Animatediff chapter, because it is a very complicated matter. You can talk hours and hours about it. So much variations and possibilities. This already starts with the different models. There is not just one Animatediff, but meanwhile 5 versions, plus an LCM version of it. And all of them have some advantages and disadvantages. It is impossible to cover everything here. And I struggle a bit because Animatediff has grown old. It is trained at 512 pixels and works with Stable Diffusion 1.5 mostly, so this is old stuff. Nowadays we have Hanyan video, LTX video and so on. But Animatediff still gives good results in a reasonable time, and I wanted to publish my old workflows, so here we go. It is about this workflow here. This is the workflow that I have used for the video Ashes to Ashes, the simplest possible text-to-video workflow for Animatediff with prompt traveling. This is old, and as you can see, we have already a deprecated node here in the workflow. Well, it still does the job in this workflow, and using this legacy loader has some advantages, but I will come back to that at a later point. What does not the job anymore was how the nodes are arranged. Hard to follow. You need to scroll around, no commands. Well, you can work this way, and I have, but this is not comfortable. So let me do a short excursion how I nowadays arrange workflows. Just to give you another negative example. This is a salt and pepper workflow for LTX video. I have still to find out what is where. You have no chance to follow this workflow. Where is what and what does what. No way. Oh, let's rearrange this stuff here. I have already a group here. Don't know why this doesn't want to follow here. Curious. Okay. We have loaders. This is this two here. This is pinned. This is wired. Let me have a look. Where is the pin? Unpin. Where are you? Here. Now I can move it around. This is the loaders. This two. This is Animatediff already. This is collapsed. Let's open it. And here we have the loaders. This is my first group. Then we have the Animatediff stuff. This does not belong to it. This is this here. I usually take care that I have an order in the way it is executed. But that way you get a very, very long chain. So what I do here, in this case, is to put the things above each other. So this is the next group, Animatediff. For selected nodes. Here we go. Here is another collapsed. I will cover this one here at a later point. 3U. We have the Animatediff group. Then we need settings. This is the prompting. This is already one group. Let me have a look before or after. I think it makes more sense to put the settings before the prompting. Yeah. Resolution frames is the K-sampler. Let's make this one a group. This is my settings. Then we have the prompting. We have some reroutes here, not required. This is also collapsed. This is for the K-sampler. I have back in the days used a graphics card with 8 GB VRAM, and the normal VAE sometimes has given me an out of memory, so I have chosen to use a VAE decode tiled version here. We will change this. Nowadays, not longer required. I take a shortcut now. This is how it looks when I have arranged it. Load models, Animatediff settings, prompt traveling, K-sampler, final video, and a preview video. By the order, this would be more clever, but by working, this is the better method here because you want the final video. And you want to zoom in that you can work, that you don't have to scroll around, as few as possible scrolling. We have still the problem that the chain might become a bit long here, especially when you add more and more stuff. And in this case, I start to move things above each other, like the settings here, here, and that way you can make it even more compact and have everything in view. But for now, this is good enough. You don't need to scroll around this much. Let's do some further fine-tuning. I think it was meant to have the settings in front. Yeah, this is better. And let's get rid of the VAE decode tiled. Decode this one. Let's put this one into place. First the color. Yeah, the color is brown. Then we need the VAE. This is from the loader. Then we need the samples comes from the latent, from the K-sampler. And it goes into the image node here. So let's remove this one and get this into place. Then we can also save some space here again. Here we go. And let's turn off the upscaling and the frame interpolation, maybe, no. And the preview video, the final video, I want to put away here for the tests. This is the final video off. So for testing, just a simple K-sampler and the preview video. This should be enough. And for that, now back to the workflow. Let's dive in. Here we have the load models. It is basically the checkpoint and the VAE version. In case the checkpoint supports it, you can also get rid of this VAE and use the VAE from the model. One word to the checkpoints. Animatediff comes in several flavors and versions, and it is very picky with the weight. Some weights works just fine, others not. Analog Madness here is one of the models that works fine in most cases. This LoRa's here allows you camera movement, panning for example, or I have chosen here the zoom in. But they are made for Animatediff 2. They will not work with Animatediff version 3. The LCM version will work, it is based at Animatediff 2, but not 3. The good news is Animatediff 3 adds camera movement by itself, sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. I have, as usual, placed a comment here where to find the LoRa's and where to place them then. Don't touch the context options, they are fine, you can just make it worse. There is an exception which leads us back to the LoRa's for a short moment, the context length here. There is a LoRa that allows double context length, which can give you more consistent videos then. And when you use it, then you also need to double the context length to 32. Let's do it. Let's pull it out for a moment here. This one here, JT's General Motion LoRa. And when you use this LoRa here, then you have to turn the context length to 32. In case you want to use both a motion LoRa and the double context length, this is why I have dragged it out here, hold down Alt, duplicate the node, and drag it here in. And then you can use two LoRa's. And turn right, for example. And this is why I've dragged it out. There is no space to show this here. We was in zoom in. Okay, let's put this back to how it was. And we have 16 context length. I have also covered this here in the node. Leave it as it is, except you want to use the motion LoRa with context length of 32. Now to the loader. Yes, I know it is deprecated. This workflow is a bit older, but it still does the job. And here we come to one of the trouble points already. It does imho sometimes the job better than the newer version of Animatediff Evolved. In this case it does. Just to compare, this is what I get with the old method. Beautiful result. Fluffy clouds, some ruins in the middle. Just to give you an example, this is the workflow for Animatediff LCM. We use the same seed, we have the same weight, we have the same size and frame length and the same prompting, and we get a completely different result, not so nice looking as the one here. A general problem with LCM, you might notice the look is a bit washy. This is a general problem with LCM. Well, there are special, let me have a look here, LCM. There are special checkpoints made for LCM. They can improve the result, but in general, it is faster. It can be faster, but it gives a bit of washy result. But in this case, it is definitely Animatediff Evolved, the nodes, since when I use version 2 or 3 here, when I turn off this loader model only, when I bypass it and use Animatediff version 2, let me run this for a moment. Wait, I need to change the sampler too. This goes up to, let's say, 25, and we don't use the LCM. Maybe the Euler works. So this is what we got with Animatediff version 2. This is far away from what we get here. This is why I prefer the legacy Animatediff loader. Unfortunately, LCM does not work with this version here. Does not work. This is why I have a separate workflow here. Made for LCM. Let's revert this one here. I will make it looking nicer for download. Bypass. Back to LCM. And here we go. Now we have finally arrived at the versions. There are 5 versions originally. 14, 15, 15 version 2, SDXL beta, and version 3. This is the page where you can find them. And at Hugging Face, I have also made a note here, Hugging Face, and where to put the models then. Also the LCM model 1 moment. This is where you can find the LCM version. I would not recommend to use, here we are, these old versions here. And the SDXL beta version is also unfinished, over a year old, which shows the future of Animatediff is not so bright anymore. What remains for the daily work is this version 2, version 3, and here the LCM version. The LCM Animatediff is in general version 2 with an extra training so that it works with LCM weights. It also works with other weights as we have seen already. And with LCM you can generate videos in amazingly 4 steps. So it is a speed improvement. Let me switch to this workflow for a short moment. Step back, I think 8 was the step here. Well, it is not 4 steps in all cases. More 8 to 12. After that, the quality does not rise anymore. So this is recommended step size. Well, we have already seen the price of LCM. It produces not this detailed result here and there compared to Animatediff 2. Sometimes very visible. And another price is, as told, we need to use the Animatediff Evolved in the newer version, and this gives completely different results. The tree itself also is a bit different. You need a special LoRa here, Animate LCM, that goes into the model chain instead as a motion LoRa. In the end, it is a matter of flavor, of personal taste, and how much time you have, because as told, this one works a little bit faster. Animatediff 3, I nearly forgot one step here. And let's have a look here. Here we are. We have an adapter. And this adapter is a connection between the checkpoint and the Animatediff loader. And it makes sure that you get consistent results with version 3. I have in one video had a big problem with the colors, and I guess it was exactly of this reason. I might have forgotten this, the adapter here. So when you choose version 3 here, then turn on the adapter. I will bypass it for version 2 and turn it on for version 3. I will make a note here. Curious enough, the result without the adapter is not this bad. I like this clouds even more here. This is with the adapter here. So try it out. But the normal pipeline is meant to have this on, this adapter here. And of course, think about when you turn on version 3, the LoRa's here doesn't work anymore. The motion LoRa's. Now that was quite a bit of information just about Animatediff. Lots to consider, and I have just scratched the surface here. Now let's have a look at the settings here. The free U node promises to improve the quality of the image. I have added a link here. To the repository. And it gives some, here for example, the face is improved or the car is improved, something like that. I have, though, not this good results with the values that they recommend here. This is for SD 1.5. I use these values here and have a better result. Toy around what fits best to your needs. The clip set last layer, well, you better have a look here. It says modify clip model behaviors by setting last processing layer for tailored output control in AI art workflows. It makes things better. Keep it at -1. Everything else you might want to know, but not necessarily. In this node here, you set up the width and height. I have chosen half 720p here, and you set the batch size for the frame. And the latent count grabs the batch size and connects it with the batch prompt so that I don't have to type in the max frames here too. One word for the size. I have chosen this small size not only because VRAM limits, but SD 1.5 and also Animatediff is trained at a maximum pixel size of 512. This means when you go bigger, then the K-sampler and also Animatediff is in trouble to keep things consistent. A person is splitting into two persons is one of the most known side effects in this regards. So make sure that you don't go too big and too far away from the 512 pixels. It might be tempting to go higher when you have enough VRAM and enough power, but as told, it is not made for it. Neither Animatediff nor Stable Diffusion 1.5. The prompt. We have a positive and a negative prompt. And for the positive prompt, we don't have a single string like here, but a batch prompt. You define keyframes. And the prompt that should become active at this keyframe. And it blends over there. This is the blend effect that you see here. A wonderful morphing effect, I love it. The keyframing starts at 0, not at 1. You could make it even simpler by replacing this batch prompt here by this node here, just to show how it would work. Hold down Alt, drag, then you have duplicated it. Let's say the color, let's make it green. Then you go from clip to clip, and here into positive, and that was it already. Then you could use this prompt here. But we don't. We want to work with the batch prompt. So let's undo this. and away with it. So we have a keyframe part here, and we have an append and prepend part. This append text here is valid for the whole prompt, for the whole time, for all keyframes. And this part here is just active for this specific keyframe. Here we come to one of the oddities of the batch prompt schedule, because I once copied this over. And we have here the values. And when you have a look here, these values, there is no way. It is the same batch prompt, but I recreated it from scratch, and there is no way to make this here appearing in this field. And also the append and prepend text, impossible. I had to drag it out. Let's have a look, prepend text, and then you would string literal, choose string literal, and then you can type in an prepend text. That is valid for the whole procedure for all keyframes. Looks a bit different, does the same. This is why I've added it here. Just these 4 values, no idea how I could add them here. You don't change them anyway, so leave it alone. Just to show you what I mean. Batch prompt schedule, this is the default here. And there is no way to put the prepend text or these values here really down here into the node. There is, you can convert the whole text and these 4 entries here, but not these input values. Missing. Either way, as told, it is looking a bit different, but does the very same, so leave it alone. The case sampler, I have here toyed around. I have chosen the new method, res multistep. I love it. You can use Euler, or when you use LCM, then it makes sense to use the LCM sampler too, except for the upscaling. For upscaling, don't use LCM. I have covered this issue with my upscaling article at my webpage already. Not good. For upscaling, use everything else but LCM. And of course, also the steps. LCM needs way fewer steps. Start with 8 and toy around how high or how low you can go. With an Euler, 25 steps makes sense. You could even go up to 50, but there is the question how much time you have. The upscaler. I have a very simple method implemented here by model. And it is even just 2 times upscaling, because back in the days I had a big problem with my VRAM. Even a 4 times upscaling didn't work. So 2 times real Ezragon. There was no ultimate upscale available when I picked up this workflow here. And with my old graphics card, ultimate upscaling didn't work anyways, so I installed the most simple method. In the LCM workflow, I have implemented by model and a second case sampler. This is before ultimate upscale came up. This was the method to upscale stuff. But even here, I wasn't able to really upscale the thing. I think 1.4 was the value where everything stopped working. And then we have here again by model and rescale to fit my 1920 to 1080 resolution that I wanted at this time. As told, you better upscale in an extra workflow. I've made an article for it. It can be found on my webpage, including workflows. I will link it in the description. Frame interpolation is a thing with Animatediff. It produces a video in 8 frames per second. And when you want 24 frames per second, which I want, then you need to add the in-between frames to interpolate them. And this is what the Rive node here does. It adds 2 frames to make an 8 FPS video into a 24 FPS video. You can see it. It isn't running any smooth, and this version does 24 frames per second. This frame interpolation isn't simply morphing, but it really tries to interpolate movement. And so it gives a Much better result than simply morphing between the frames. I think we are nearly through. The fast groups bypasser should be self-explaining. You can turn off what you don't need at the moment. And we have the preview and the final video here. And that was it. Have fun with these workflows. And feel free to ask questions in the comments. As a last step, let's make the LCM workflow a bit looking nicer. And I have put the second K-sampler and the upscaling and frame interpolation above everything so that you have everything in view here. What is important, and don't need to scroll around this much. One last issue. It is a very complex workflow already. In case you get red nodes, go to the manager, install missing custom nodes, and then you get a list of the missing nodes, and then you should be able to install it. For the models and weights, I have put a node everywhere, where to get it and where to put it. Have fun!